Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the End Hockey Channel. In today's video we've got a couple of things to discuss, including a couple of rumors about a couple of possible PTOs to be signed, we've got retirement to talk about, and we've got a couple of things to watch out for over the next couple of weeks as we head into training camp and the very start of the season in a month's time. We'll do all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the End Hockey Channel. Now, as usual, I would have kicked things off today by discussing a couple of signings and PTO updates, but there hasn't been any signings over the past couple of days, and no team has signed a player to a PTO since last Saturday. So, really, there's nothing to talk about at this point in time about the signings or PTO updates. We do have a couple of possible PTOs to be signed in the future. Former NHL player Tyler Ennis, who took a year off last year from playing the NHL to play overseas in Europe. He took a year off, had a pretty good season, I think, in the SHL. He did a fantastic job last year. There's been some speculation that he's looking to make an NHL return. He's played for teams like the Edmonton Oilers, Ottawa Senators, I think the Toronto Maple Leafs, Buffalo Sabres, so he's definitely had some NHL experience, a long time NHL forward. So to see him get back to the NHL would be fantastic, but it sounds like, according to some reports, there may be a Western Conference team that has interest in bringing him in on a PTO. So it hasn't happened yet, so we don't exactly know which team it is. I'm not exactly sure which team will be willing to do that. PTO isn't an NHL contract, so it could be any team. I'm not exactly sure which one it is. But definitely, it sounds like Ennis is at least garnering some interest on the PTO. And if he gets a PTO, I think he could wind up getting himself a two-way deal at some point. So it's going to be interesting to see, but it sounds like Ennis is looking to make a return to the NHL with at least getting to a PTO. Going over to the Vegas Golden Knights, rumor has it they are possibly going to sign Max Comtois to a PTO, the former 2017 second-round pick of the Anaheim Ducks. Never really did well in Anaheim. His qualifying offer was too high this year, so the Ducks never qualified him. He was one of the guys I thought would have gotten an NHL contract, but he wasn't able to do so. So he may have to wind up settling for a PTO. Really good middle six forward. During the shortened season, he was probably the Ducks' best player, but ever since then, he's really fallen off a bit. So with Vegas as like a third line forward, I think could be a fantastic addition. So he probably would have to go on the PTO. Probably would have some troubles competing with some of the other Golden Knights for a spot, but definitely I don't think that would be too much of a surprise. The Golden Knights have a really deep team. They did lose a guy like Riley Smith in the offseason. Didn't really replace him with anything, so I could see him try and add one more top nine forward before the season starts. And if they bring Comtois on a PTO, they sign him, they could sign to probably like somewhere over just $1 million. If they move a guy down on their current forward group, they would have about just over $1.3 million. So they would have sufficient enough money to sign Comtois to like a 1 year deal. So it would definitely be interesting to see, but I think the Knights and Comtois might have something brewing on a PTO. And going to be a situation that's going to be interesting to watch over the next few days. Not exactly sure if Comtois will be signed soon, but definitely, if it sounds like it's close to being possible, I think they may want to wait until that 2018 World Junior investigation happens, because I'm pretty sure Comtois was a part of that team, so they may want to wait until that's done, but Comtois to Vegas sounds like it's possible, and it sounds like the Golden Knights are looking for some more forward help and could bring in Max Comtois on a PTO. So could be interesting to see, but those are the only two PTO updates I want to talk about here today. We do have one retirement that I also want to touch on here, and that is former Cap, Penguin, Ranger forward Carl Hagelin. Now, Carl Hagelin was a sixth-round pick back in the 2007 draft of the New York Rangers, where he spent his first 4 seasons in the NHL. Did really good, had a fantastic rookie year, putting up 38 points, hit multiple times over the 30-point mark in his tenure with the New York Rangers. He really did a pretty good job to start out his career with the New York Rangers. Helped the Rangers get to the 2014 Stanley Cup Final when they lost to the LA Kings. So definitely, Hagelin was a really good player there. He would then start the next season in Anaheim, but then was traded mid-season to Pittsburgh. And during that time, over his course of the season, which was 1 full season and 2 half seasons in Pittsburgh, he did fantastic. With the Penguins, after he was acquired from the Ducks, he helped them win the 15-16 Stanley Cup Final. He would then play the next year, his full season, would help the Penguins win another Stanley Cup Final. So he won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Would then start the 18-19 season there. Would then be later traded to the Kings. And the Kings would later flip him to the Washington Capitals. So he was really on the move a lot in the 18-19 season, he would wind up finishing with the Washington Capitals, where he would spend the next 3 seasons of his career, the 1920, 2021, and 21-22 season. So he definitely had a couple of seasons with the Capitals. And then after he finished the season with the Capitals, he was injured. He only played 53 games a couple of years ago, and then he spent this entire season this past year on long-term injury reserve. His contract expired, and now he's retired from the NHL. So a really good and long career from Hagelin. He's been to 3 Stanley Cup finals, 1 with the Rangers, 2 with the Penguins. He's won 2 Stanley Cups with the Penguins. He's definitely been a really good point producer in the playoffs. He has been a really good NHL forward. He finished his career with 110 goals, 186 assists, 296 points, so 4 points shy of 300, in 713 NHL games. So pretty good career for the New York Ranger, Pittsburgh Penguin, and Washington Capital. He also played in 141 playoff games. Remember, 3 long playoffs with one with the Rangers, 2 with the Penguins. He wound up getting 22 goals, 28 assists, 50 points for 141 playoff games. So definitely, he's done really well as a really good playoff producer. He's been a really good NHL forward. The past couple of years, he was more of a bottom 6 forward, but he was still a really good piece for teams like Pittsburgh and Washington after his time in New York was done. So pretty good career there for Hagelin as he started out as a 2007 6th-round pick. But now with the injuries that he's had and his age and stuff, it seems like it was the right move to retire. So we wish the best of Hagelin in his retirement. Hope he does good in whatever's next for him. And hopefully Hagelin can continue to do really well. So really good for Hagelin, really good career. And he goes out as a Stanley Cup champion, winning twice with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So that's the only retirement I want to get to here today. And next we go over to some trade rumor updates. Now, there's no one real trade rumor that I want to discuss here today, but training camp's coming up soon. It's about 2 to 3 weeks away from the start of NHL training camp. So when training camp starts, you're going to see some players get injured. You're going to see some players get hurt. There's going to be some holes that open in training camp. Some teams will be looking at their roster. They'll look at the roster. They'll say that this is not something that we're overly confident in. They may want to make a move before the season starts. So really, over the next couple of weeks, we're probably going to hear a couple of trade rumors pop up. It sounds like there's most likely going to be some sort of trade rumors happen before the season starts. We'll see some rumors happen in the next couple of weeks before training camp. We'll see some rumors pop up while in training camp, and we'll probably see some rumors happen just after training camp before the season starts. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I expect there to be at least a little bit more activity over the next couple of weeks, especially with all of the teams needing to make some moves before the season starts. So here's 10 teams to watch out for the next couple of weeks that I could see make moves either before the start of training camp or during training camp when they're trying to figure out their rosters. So the first be the Calgary Flames. Elliot Friedman talked on the 32 Thoughts podcast yesterday, saying that Elias Lindholm is willing to sign an extension with Calgary Flames, as we talked about a couple days ago, but they have him and the Flames have not had too many discussions over the course of the summer, and he says he expects that to change as everyone gets back to training camp over the next couple of weeks. He says the next week or two, he could definitely see the Lindholm talks intensify to try and keep Lindholm in Calgary. So it sounds like that's going to be a situation to watch over the next little while. Lindholm's a solid top-line center, as we talked about last week. It sounds like he wants a little bit more money than the Flames are offering. The Flames may have to overpay a little bit, paying like the $9, maybe even $10 million range to bring him in. So definitely interesting to see, but it sounds like Lindholm does want to remain with the Flames. It just seems like they're going to have to try and get some sort of a contract extension done, and it seems like they're going to be discussing that over the next couple of weeks. Another thing I would watch out for with the Calgary Flames would be the first situation I would watch out for is Noah Hanifin. It sounded like there were some lowball offers that were really holding back a Hanifin deal, but with training camp coming up, some teams might want to still add another top 4 defenseman. They may bump up their asking price. I think we could see a Hanifin trade before the season starts. I think it's still possible that Flames go into the season with guys like Hanifin, Backlund, Tanev, Zadorov, Shillington, all pending UFAs. But I think there's a possibility they try and move Hanifin at least before the season starts. I wouldn't be overly shocked if Hanifin was a trade chip that was dealt before the season starts. So, going to be interesting to see, but Hanifin, Lindholm situations we need to watch out for over this next couple of weeks. Lindholm possibly being signed by the Calgary Flames. Hanifin, I think, possibly being moved. Those are going to be two situations to watch out for over the next couple of weeks that I think could wind up figuring themselves out. Going over to another West Canadian team in the Winnipeg Jets. They're another team to watch out for. I've seen a couple of articles recently saying that the Bruins may take one last stab at trying to acquire Mark Scheifele. It sounded like they were trying to do that throughout the offseason. It sounds like they'll try and make one more stab at bringing Scheifele in to be a top 4 center for their team before the season starts. So if we see some possible Scheifele to the Bruins rumors over the next couple of days, it would definitely make sense. Scheifele's a solid top 6 forward entering the final year of his deal. In my opinion, would be a really good fit in the Boston Bruins organization. Definitely, the money would have to work for the Bruins. The return would have to work for the Jets. So definitely, still lots of possible problems for that deal. But we know the Bruins like Scheifele. We know they need a top 6 forward. That could be a deal that happens in the not too distant future. So we'll have to wait and see. But it sounds like Bruins are going to try and take another stab at Scheifele before the season starts. If they're not able to get him, they'll probably go into the season with what they have. But I do think there's a possibility Scheifele gets moved by the Winnipeg Jets. Maybe they try and move Hellebuyck too. I think there's teams out there like maybe Jersey or Buffalo who would be interested if the extension was a little bit reasonable. But I'm still not sure if the Jets are going to be able to move Hellebuyck before the season starts, just given the fact of his contract stats and stuff like that. So, going to be interesting to see, but the Jets are going to be an interesting team to watch out for. Maybe they move Hellebuyck, but I think it's most likely he'll be starting the season with the Jets. But Scheifele's going to be a really interesting name to watch out for. Solid top 6 forward, into the final year of his contract. There'll be a ton of teams interested in him. So, if they really don't want to go into the season with Scheifele and Hellebuyck not signed, I think there's a possibility Scheifele gets moved. Going over to the Toronto Maple Leafs, another team we have to watch out for over the next couple of weeks. We know the Leafs are over the cap, even after putting Murray and Muzzin on long-term injury reserve. So they're going to need to make a move before the season starts. We know they've talked a lot about possibly either moving down via waivers or trading both of Sam Lafferty and Connor Timmins. Both make just over $1 million. Moving both of those two would make them team cap compliant. So Lafferty, solid bottom 6 forward. Timmins, good third pair defenseman who can put up points offensively. Definitely, I think both those guys are going to be interesting names to watch out for. I think there's a very likely chance both those guys get moved. There's also been some talk recently about the Leafs possibly trading a guy like Kalle Yarncroke, decent middle 6 forward. Probably someone they could live without, with guys like Nyes and Robertson getting into the lineup now. Makes $2.1 million. Moving him once again probably make them cap compliant. So definitely another guy who they could possibly be moving on from. So he's going to be a possible name to watch out for. We know that they've been talking throughout the offseason about a guy like TJ Brody, decent top 4 defenseman, makes $5 million, which is a little bit rich for the Maple Leafs, but it's still a pretty good defenseman. So definitely, Brody's another name to watch out for. I think there's going to be at least one, if not a couple trades from the Toronto Maple Leafs over the course of training camp to become cap compliant. So definitely, it's going to be interesting to see, but Leafs are going to be a team to watch out for. The Ottawa Senators, same sort of thing. The Sens still have 2 RFAs left in Igor Sokolov and Shane Pinto. Pinto's probably going to try and command like a $2.5 million cap hit. Sokolov's probably something under $1 million, but they only have $900,000 left, so it's going to be extremely difficult to sign both of these guys and make the cap work. Everyone's looking to a guy like Mathieu Joseph to possibly be moved, or possibly Eric Brandstrom. One of those two guys probably going to get moved. They both make over $2 million, which should be a sufficient amount of money to at least make sure that the Sens are cap compliant with Shane Pinto under contract. So going to be interesting to see, but they need to sign Pinto, they need to sign Sokolov, and they're going to need to sign cap space to sign both of these guys. So expect the Sens to sign Pinto and Sokolov before the season starts, and also try and move Joseph or Brandstrom before the season starts. Brandstrom, good third pair offensive defenseman. Joseph, decent third pair forward. So going to be interesting to see, but I expect one of those two guys to be moved, and the Sens are a team to watch out for over the next couple of weeks. Completing the Eastern Canadian teams, fifth team I want to watch out for will be the Montreal Canadiens. We've talked about this a while now, ever since the Erik Karlsson trade. Watch out for Casey DeSmith to be traded at some point. I think there's an extremely likely chance that Casey DeSmith is moved, possibly for some retained salary as well. It seems like the Canadiens have had a difficult time moving DeSmith so far. They may start DeSmith as like a third-string goalie at the NHL level into the season to see if they can maybe up his value. So I think it's possible they could start with him. But they're looking for a trade. There was supposed to be a trade, according to some reports, around the same time that Petrie was dealt to the Detroit Red Wings, and it never happened yet. So I think there's going to be a trade at some point during training camp. We know that there's always some teams who get injuries, could definitely use a guy like DeSmith, decent guy who's probably pretty much variable in the minors. So definitely interesting to see, but DeSmith is the guy who I think could be moved. I also wouldn't be surprised if they would still be trying to move a forward like Yoel Armia, but I think he's more likely to be placed on waivers and sent to the minors instead of being traded. So going to be interesting to see, but the Canadiens are another team we have to watch out for over the next couple of days. The Vancouver Canucks, another Canadian team to be watching out for. We know Vancouver's over the salary cap. If Pearson is healthy, he gets to training camp, they're not going to have enough cap space to become cap compliant. So they're going to have to make a move. Now, Tyler Myers, we know his name's been out there. His signing bonus should be paid, if not already, then in the extremely near future. So I could see his name come up in trade discussions over the next couple of days, possibly being a trade chip for a team like he's been linked to San Jose, he's been linked to Columbus, maybe one of those two teams. That's a possibility. I would not be shocked if guys like on the forward group, Connor Garland, Anthony Beauvillier, maybe to some extent, like we talked about on Saturday, Brock Besser makes sense to be moved. So I definitely think that the Canucks make a ton of sense to move at least one, if not two players. We could see them move Myers. I wouldn't be surprised if they move Myers to try to use one of their forwards to get an upgrade on the defensive end. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I definitely expect the Canucks to make at least one move to clear some cap space. So that's going to be interesting to see, and they're another team to watch out for. Next, we go over to the Carolina Hurricanes, another team I think we should watch out for. Not extremely sure and guarantee that they're going to make a move, but I think there's an extremely likely chance they move Pesce before the start of the season. They get closer to training camp, you start to get some more signing discussions. If the Canes and Pesce can't really come to terms on any sort of a deal that keeps Pesce in the Carolina Hurricanes organization for the next couple of years, I think there's an extremely likely chance they could trade him. Now, they could go into the season with Pesce on the final year of his deal. I don't think the Canes are opposed to that, but with their weaker sort of forward group, I think if they could move Pesce for a forward upgrade, I think they would definitely do that. So Pesce's going to be named to watch out for over the next couple of weeks. I think he's an extremely likely candidate to be moved. So definitely keep your eye on Brett Pesce and the Carolina Hurricanes, who I think could move Pesce in the not too distant future. Another team will be the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think there could be a team who makes a move before the season starts. Crowded blue line. Nick Blankenberg could be moved down as he's waiver exempt, even though I think he's most likely a good NHL defenseman. But with the improvements of Provorov and Severson, Stel Werenski, I think Juracek makes the team next year. Gobranson's contract's pretty untradeable. Besides all these guys, you have Bean, you have Boqvist, you have Peak for one spot on the team. And I honestly don't think that you can move any one of those guys down on waivers. So if you have one guy there, you have one spare, you need to move one defenseman. So I think they could move a guy like Boqvist or Peak. I think those are going to be two guys we could watch out for over the next couple of weeks as possible trade options. You have Jack Roslovic, I think could be moved in the forward group. They do have a pretty crowded forward group of guys like Fantilli and Johnson making the team. So I think there's a likely chance that the Jackets could move someone there. So it's going to be interesting to see. If you look at the Buffalo Sabres, they're another team that I think we should watch out for over the next couple of weeks. Forward group is pretty stacked up right now. They could try and make a depth addition. I've seen some people link him to Tatar, so that could be a possible addition. But they've not upgraded the defense like they wanted to this offseason, and their goaltending tandem is still a little bit risky, in my opinion, going with a sophomore goalie and a rookie goalie as your two goalies to start the season. So if you have UPL as your backup and Levi as your starter, that might be a little bit risky. So I would not be too shocked if the Sabres at least got some insurance for Levi and Luukkonen during the season, whether it be a guy like, I'm not sure if they would go after an amazing star like a Hellebuyck or Gibson. They may go after a lower end guy like a Vladar or DeSmith. But I would not be shocked if the Sabres were to try and pick up a goalie before the season started. Same thing with the defensive end. Solid defense. They have guys like Yoki Haru, Clifton, Johnson, Bryson. They still have a couple, Stillman. They still have a couple of solid top four defensemen, Samuelson and Dahlin and Power, but I do think they could still use a veteran top four defenseman. So I could still, like I said, Pesce, Hanifin, team players like that, I could see one of those guys get moved before season started. So definitely keep your eye on the Sabres. I think they could be definitely a team to watch out for. The other team would be the Nashville Predators. We know that the Predators could definitely use another center. Guys who come to mind like Lindholm, Scheifele, possibly even Kuznetsov. So I definitely think there's a possibility there for the Predators to try and maybe upgrade that center group. They do have 4 really good right shot defensemen in Dante Fabro, Tyson Barrie, Luke Shen, and Alex Carrier. Guys like Carrier and Barrie, I could see them possibly try and flip if there was to get them a center upgrade. Not exactly sure that'll be right now. It might be closer to the trade deadline, but I think that's an extremely likely possibility for the Nashville Predators. Some other teams I could see possibly making moves before the season starts. I could see the Islanders look for a forward addition if they could find a one to do it. I could see the Capitals look for some sort of a move to get rid of Kuznetsov and Mantha. I could see the Bruins try and upgrade, like we said, possibly Scheifele, maybe Lindholm, but I'd have to make the cap work, so that'd be a really difficult trade to work out. I could see Seattle try and add on the defensive end. I could see Edmonton maybe try and add a little bit extra depth. So there's still a couple of teams out there I think are not quite done yet. So definitely Calgary, Winnipeg, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, Columbus, Carolina, Buffalo, Nashville. 10 teams I think we should really keep our eye on over the next couple of weeks, as training camp's not too far away, and I think there's going to be some trades to still come. I think we'll probably have at least a handful of trades before the season starts, whether they be big or small, and I think we could see guys like Hanifin, or Pesce, or Scheifele, or a couple of other guys, maybe some lower-end guys, be moved before the season starts. So, going to be interesting to see, but those are 10 teams I think we should really keep our eye on before the season starts. As we keep closer to training camp, most teams are going to start seeing how their rosters are shaping up, and there's going to be a couple of teams who want to make moves. So, keep your eye on these 10 teams. They're going to be extremely interesting and entertaining to watch out for as we get closer to training camp, and I expect some of these teams to make some pretty big moves before the season starts. So definitely, love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Which one of these teams do you think is the most likely to make a move before the season starts? Is it the Flames with Lindholm and Hanifin? Is it the Jets with Scheifele and Hellebuck? Is it the Leafs who need to move out a contract? Is it the Sens who should move out a contract in order to sign Pinto? Is it the Canadiens who need to move Casey DeSmith? Is it Canucks who need to become cap compliant and move a guy like Garland or Myers? Is it the Jackets who could possibly move a guy like Peak or Boakfist to clear that logjam on the defensive end? Is it the Canes who could possibly move Pesce as he's entering the final year of his contract? Is it the Sabres who could try to add a defenseman or a goaltender before the season starts? Or is it the Predators who could definitely try and add a center by using one of the right shot defensemen as trade bait? Definitely. Love to hear your thoughts down in the comments on which sort of moves do you think could happen before training camp or during training camp. Or there's a team who's not these 10 teams who could wind up making a move before the season starts. Definitely. Love to hear your thoughts down in the comments on which move do you think will be most likely to happen before the season starts. But that's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you really liked it, remember to subscribe down below. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so definitely check that out. I'll leave links down in the description below, and I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.